Hello, my baby yams, squidlets, and that poor soul that got redirected here by YouTube. I'm sorry your recommendations did this to you, but don't be shy. Welcome. We talk about learning how to ride motorcycles in a safe and friendly environment, and the occasional mega dank nooner on a Turbo Busa at 185 miles per hour wearing flip-flops. Hi. I'm Yammie Noob. Rumor has it that I have a bald head and shaved pubes courtesy of Manscaped. I ride a Hayabusa, baby, including some other bikes as well. Call me crazy, but it's what I do. Now today, I'm gonna go over the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-14R. If you thought that the Busa was too much of a bike to handle, then hold on to your flip-flops because Kawasaki made another bike called the Ninja, of course, to be specifically faster and better than the Hayabusa. You guys leave me lots of comments about it, so okay, fine. Let's talk about the ZX-14R. Before we jump into stats and numbers, we need to go over the ZX-14R, why it was made in the first place. This bike wasn't an update on a previous model, no, it was built specifically because of the Hayabusa. It was a competition between Suzuki and Kawasaki. So, the history. Since Suzuki's Hayabusa debuted in 1999, the other three companies of Japan's Big Four had nothing to compete with it. Honda's CB1100XX Super Blackbird was the fastest production motorcycle from 1996, which was made to challenge the Kawasaki ZX-11. When the Hayabusa was released, Honda stood no chance and no one else had a bike that could compare. The ZX-12R debuted as an outdated and outperformed bike by the Hayabusa since day one. With a 0 to 60 of 2.59 seconds and a standing quarter mile of 10.3, but also tested to elapsed times of even under 10 seconds, it was a close call. Close enough to the Hayabusa and sometimes beating its ETs in between the high 9s and low 10s, the ZX-12 just wasn't enough. In simplest terms, Kawasaki originally held the title of world's fastest production motorcycle until its unseating by the Blackbird. Once the Kawasaki was unseated, they worked on another bike, the ZX-12, which fell short of beating out the now available at the time Hayabusa. So Kawasaki obviously wasn't going to sit there and do nothing. With the Hayabusa claiming the title for a few years, Kawi re-entered the game with a showing of the ZX-14R in 2005. It was released for purchase in 2006 and has held the title of the fastest motorcycle until Kawasaki started the Ninja H2 and H2R. In short, just blame Honda for starting the speed wars amongst the Big Four in Japan. Yamaha was never involved in this. Instead, they developed the R1 and focused on MotoGP, which they did pretty dang well at. Now, do you know what else I'm thankful for besides Yamaha? That is Manscaped. That's right, don't let your pubes be the reason why your significant other or your Tinder date says no to you. Get some yard work done. Don't go showing up on a date with your bush getting out of control. What if you get lucky, my dude? What if she actually agrees to come back to your place? You're gonna have a bad time. Manscaped has you covered with the Lawnmower 3.0. The best got better and it still uses the ceramic trimmer blade. New are the anti-tug trimmer guards, an upgraded motor that revs out to 7,000 RPMs, but you know what? It's got the no nick guarantee. If you nick your sack, you send it back, just like that. Don't let that be the only thing you get yourself. Manscaped has tons of other things that your balls and your body will thank you for. You can get the crop preserver and the crop reviver and get it all in the perfect package 3.0. Save yourself 20% off by using the code Yammie20 at checkout, and of course, shipping is free. Now, if you subscribe to Manscaped, you'll get a new blade every 3 months, and right now they'll even throw in 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. Treat your balls today. Use Yammie20 at checkout and get yourself squared away, my dude. So, what is a ZX-14R? I mentioned the ZX-14R, which was the first name for the now ZX-14R. If you were trying to take a Hayabusa to a Gapplebee's before 2008, then you needed something other than a leader bike. Kawasaki's response was a 1352cc inline-4 that produced 187 horsepower and 113 foot-pounds of torque. This bike was a monster. It weighed nearly 600 pounds wet, with a displacement larger than the Busa's 1299ccs. The ZX-14R was built to kill the Falcon. The dimensions of the bike screamed Hayabusa because the engine was so big for a sport bike. It was another sport touring bike inspired by the Hayabusa, with the full intentions of conquering it in the market, on the streets, and even on the track if you're so brave. What became iconic for the 14R were those 4 headlights up front that gave the bike an alien appearance. If you've never seen this bike before, you know that it wasn't your average Kawasaki. You get the feeling that something else was going on. Another feature of the appearance is the taillight. In its V shape, became popular amongst its owners. The seat was also a one-piece design. The gauge cluster is a dual analog design and it is massive, much like the Hayabusa. The speedometer reads up to 190 miles per hour, while the tachometer reads a red line starting at 15,000 RPMs, but climbs until 13,000. It revs a lot, don't worry guys. This is during the time that most sport bikes had digital speedometers and only one gauge needle, so it was deliberate for Kawasaki to match the display to the Hayabusa. In a sense, they were trying to convert Busa riders to ZX-14 riders. Turbo Busas and other great starter bikes aside, the ZX-14R is purpose-built just like the Hayabusa that it's after. With its enormous boat-like qualities, it's definitely not a beginner bike and not one for tight maneuvers nor stunting. It's a sport touring bike in the sense, well, it's a super sport touring bike, let's put it that way. It has its own little niche right there with the Hayabusa. No other manufacturers have made a bike that comes close to these two in either size, power, or performance all in one package. But since the Big Four had a gentleman's agreement to electronically limit the speed of their bikes, the ZX-14R was governed at 186 miles per hour. Unrestricted ECUs allowed the bike to reach speeds over 200 miles per hour, which isn't an easy feat. The specs on the 14R were better than the Hayabusa, as many commenters love to tell me. The Hayabusa was tested in the quarter mile with results ranging from 9.8 to 10.2 seconds, and 0 to 60 was measured at 2.47 and 2.76, but the ZX-14R, the quarter mile was completed in 9.7 seconds with a 0 to 60 time of 2.5. Close, but the ZX-14 still won. Pros. Acceleration and speed aside, the ZX-14 is actually a super comfortable motorcycle. It's comfortable for passengers as well. The bike is an addictive mix of everything you could want in a sport bike. It handles pretty well for its weight, has a 50-50 weight distribution, Olin suspension, and is virtually vibration free. Because of its design for high speed, cruising around at speed limits is effortless and it will pull anywhere, anytime you need power. The wind isn't too harsh on the rider either. The current 14R has a decent electronics package including power modes and traction control. It's complete with Brembo brakes and ABS. It's a pretty nice bike to have, honestly, minus the cons, which we're going to get into. Another pro is that it's the second bike in its class, the Hypersport Touring class that is, shared only with the Hayabusa. If you're not a fan of the Busa, well, you have one more option. If you don't want to be one of them Busa boys, but you are on that bigger side, then you have this second option. I'll throw this out there. It seems that if you're average or skinny or damn near, any bike will fit you, but if you're a little bit husky, anything under 750 is apparently out of the question. I don't know why. The cons. You didn't think they'd have everything in one bike, did you? The ZX-14 is a big bike. Huge! I already mentioned the 600-pound wet weight, so it's not going to be easy to pick up if it tips over. The bike is going to be unflickable on the track unless you're built like Dolph Lundgren in Rocky IV. Can almost guarantee it will be too much of a bike for a lot of riders. Even experienced ones will steer clear of it and ride something more nimble, like a leader bike. Oh, a friendly, tiny little leader bike that you can just cruise around on. It is no longer the fastest bike in the world either. Kawasaki has produced the supercharged leader bike known as the H2 and H2R, which has been shattering records since its debut in 2015. The ZX-14R is outdated and is being discontinued for 2021. The market for bikes of this size and performance is kind of dying. Tighter emissions regulations and slow sales are causing the Hayabusa to be discontinued, and the 14R is going to follow suit. So let's talk about the war. As the ZX-14R came out, it was crowned the king of all sport bikes for being the fastest. Suzuki took the Hayabusa back to the drawing board, and in 2007, the Suzuki Hayabusa received a 41cc bump in displacement. Released in 2008, the second-gen Busa saw a few improvements in acceleration. Kawasaki's response to the Suzuki's attempts in 2012, they updated the 14R to 1441cc's to Busa the Busa by 100 cc's and increased the horsepower to 200 and torque to 114 foot-pounds. The result? The ZX-14 now ripped a quarter mile in 9.4 seconds reliably, still making it the fastest motorcycle at the time. The two bikes might seem irrelevant now with the introduction of the H2, H2R, and plethora of other leader bikes making over 200 horsepower, but for the time, this was pretty crazy. So, gotta talk about the culture a little bit here. Just like the good old Hayabusa, Kawasaki was able to market the ZX-14 to its own little culture. Riders immediately took the fact that the 14 was the fastest bike, and it began an instant sensation amongst the most suicidal squids. Smack talk increased between riders of the two bikes, but the winner was always the 14R, unless a Hayabusa could take it to the track. For those on the East Coast, the 14 is the stretched and lowered Kawasaki that you see all the time. The chrome bikes are the Busas. If you're a rider, the first thing that's going through your mind might be a good rider can beat a ZX-14R with the Hayabusa, and you're absolutely correct. Even though the 14R is technically faster, it still will always come down to the skills of the riders on each bike to unlock the full potential of these beasts. Because they are a little bit older, they don't have a lot of those rider aids and quick shifters up and down like brand new bikes, so you do need to be quick with your throttle hand hand and quick with your clutch hand. So let's talk about the future now. With tightening emission regulations in Europe and the US, both companies decided to pull the plug on these bikes. Although they're both equally awesome meme generators, Kawasaki has the fastest production bike in the world, the Ninja H2R, and it's branching off that model with the ZH2 and the H2SX. Suzuki, on the other hand, they've been kind of quiet about the production of their motorcycles. The Hayabusa has been updated since 08, and to be honest, their other models haven't received a lot of updates for some time either. The GSX-R1000R will be Suzuki's flagship motorcycle after the Hayabusa is discontinued. The 1000R only makes 199 horsepower and 87 foot-pounds of torque, so it isn't any contender against the H2 variant, and it's getting a little long in the tooth compared to the new leader bikes. Kawasaki has firmly planted their foot in the ground and declared themselves as the company that will make the world's fastest motorcycles. It seems Suzuki is just slowly backing out of this one and being a little too quiet. What needs to be answered is the fact that Suzuki's GSX-R1000R has under 200 horsepower, while the new Fireblade, the current R1, the BMW S1000RR, Aprilia's RSV4, and the new Ducatis all have way above 200. We can only wait and see if maybe Suzuki's willing to come back into the game with a stronger leader bike. Hopefully we can get a new Busa for 2021, but I'm kind of doubting it. But rumor has it that those patents have been coming out. Now, this isn't to say that the Suzuki isn't a competitive motorcycle. The GSX-R1000R has been pretty competitive in Moto America, but outside of that, I haven't really seen any indications to know that it's done very well in racing. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope I shined some light on a mysterious ZX-14R and its hatred for the Hayabusa. Let me know in the comments if you've ridden a 14R and or a Hayabusa and how you think the two compare. I think we have to do a matchup to make sure that we know what we're talking about. We might do a proper head-to-head video on the two. Until next time, I'll catch you later. Fact: Lady Di's of the Han Dynasty was mummified and preserved for over 2,100 years in a mysterious liquid. In 1971, when her remains were discovered, her skin was soft to the touch with very little signs of decay. Weird. Goodbye.